Hi, everybody. Welcome to our guided meditation today. My name is Stephanie Wagner, and I'm a trainer with Healthy Minds Innovations. As we're getting started here, I would love to hear from you if you'll share with me in the chat box where you live and let me know who is practicing with me today. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with who we are at Healthy Minds Innovations, we are a nonprofit that's affiliated with the Center for Healthy Minds at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, a research institution. And what we do at Healthy Minds Innovations is we translate the scientific insights coming out of the Center for Healthy Minds into tools to help people both cultivate as well as measure well-being. So we have a unique model of well-being. It's called the Healthy Minds Framework that is rooted in a set of skills that can be trained. And there's also science that links them to being beneficial to well-being. So these four dimensions of well-being are awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. So we've been coming together every Monday for those Spanish-speaking meditators to practice with Daniela. And then, of course, we practice together on Thursdays. And each week we have a different theme of practice that we work with that's sort of rooted in one of the skills in the Healthy Minds Framework. So this week we are working with skills associated with insight. So when you think about insight, insight is really a type of practice in which we get curious, we get to know ourselves better, we begin to explore the role of our beliefs and our expectations, our assumptions, and we use these to sort of help us to see things more clearly. We can see our habits of mind. We can see sort of how these things create our sense of self. And so when we begin to see things more clearly, we're able to actually develop a healthy, more flexible, and adaptable sense of self. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the level of perception, and we're going to be examining the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, the type of practice that we do oftentimes in insight meditation is called analytical meditation. And analytical meditation, at least in this case, we're going to harness the power of the thinking mind along with awareness. And I'm going to prompt you into some guided reflections about your own experience and sort of the way that you perceive yourself. And you'll notice as we go along that sometimes this is a little bit harder, oftentimes, than sort of more of a resting meditation. Sometimes it just doesn't feel as calming as resting meditation often does. So just, take it slowly from time to time. If you feel like you just need to drop out of the practice and rest the mind and open awareness or bring your attention to some other aspect of your experience and do more of an awareness-based practice, you're welcome to do that too. So you'll notice if you don't have a lot of experience with insight meditation that this does feel a bit different. So hello to everyone that has said hi in the chat box. Welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here. So we'll practice for about the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll check in at the end. So let's go ahead and find a practice posture that feels supportive. So this might mean if you're sitting in a chair that you place your feet on the floor and place your palms in your lap and settle in, allowing the body to be alert yet relaxed. And as you're getting settled into practice, you can feel free to take a couple of slow, deep breaths here. And you can feel free to close your eyes if that feels good for you, or leave them open. And on each out breath, allow the mind and body to relax. And take a moment to reflect on your motivation for practicing meditation today, whatever that may be, and see if you can tap into a motivation that extends beyond yourself, wishing that the practice is not only beneficial for your own well-being, but supports the well-being of others as well. Take a moment to connect with that in your mind. So let's begin with a few moments of mindful awareness. So you can simply bring your attention to some aspect of your present moment experience, something like breath, bodily sensations, maybe even sound, and just see if you can bring a light awareness to this experience. Simply knowing that you're breathing or that you're feeling or hearing. So, as you're paying attention to this support for awareness, you may find that your mind may be active or still. So, whatever's happening is okay. But the point is to notice when you're disconnected from the support, notice those moments of distraction, and then bring your attention back each time that happens. Notice your mind. Is your mind connected to your practice or not? Gently bring your attention back. Okay, so let's begin the insight inquiry. So, bring to mind a belief that you have about yourself. So, this might be something positive or negative. Perhaps it's something like you're an overachiever or you are really extroverted. Maybe it's that you're easily stressed out. So, see if you can connect with some belief you have about yourself and bring that to mind. And so once you have brought this belief to mind, then we're going to begin examining the idea. So, how does this shape the way that you see yourself? How does this belief influence your actions or choices? So, just see if you can reflect on that for a few moments. And so, this isn't about finding an answer to anything. This is simply getting curious about this belief that you have about yourself and how it is shaping the way that you see yourself. You might even notice how this belief makes you feel. And so now you can examine how limiting this belief is by examining whether or not this belief is always true. And see if you can think of some instances where maybe this belief wasn't true. You can notice how this belief doesn't really accurately or fully reflect who you are. So take a few moments to examine this. You might notice as you're doing this, it's easy to get distracted. So when you notice that, it's not a big deal. Recognizing distraction is success. You just return back to the reflection. So you can think of counter examples where this belief is actually not true. So noticing those times where maybe the opposite has been true. So we hold these beliefs about ourselves, and yet experientially, there are times where it's simply not true. It's very limiting. Take a moment to reflect on this just for another moment or so. All right, so let's give ourselves a little break here. You can let go of the reflection, allow the mind to rest in open awareness. So, if you're familiar with this practice, there's just this sense of being present and open, natural, and relaxed. And if that practice isn't as familiar to you, you might just bring your awareness to some aspect of your experience, breath, sound, sensation, whatever feels right for you. So take a moment here to just take a break. You might notice that there's some sort of emotion that's come up from the reflection. You can allow this emotion to be okay, no need to fix or change whatever is coming up as a result of doing the reflection. And if you're resting in open awareness, you may find that thoughts come and go, sort of like clouds passing through the sky, and that is absolutely okay. Continue to just rest in this sort of sense of awareness, sense of being present without anything to do here. Okay, so we're going to try this again. So, as a reminder, there are essentially three steps that we're working on here. So, we pick a belief and we see how the belief influences our perception through a little examination. And then we test it against our own experience. So, bring to mind another belief during the last reflection. If you picked something positive, see if you can choose maybe something that's not so positive, a belief that you have about yourself, and bring that to mind. And then you can move on to the second step, which is beginning to investigate how this belief influences your perception. What thoughts or feelings does this belief produce as you bring it to mind? Is there something that this belief causes you to maybe focus on or ignore aspects of your experience? So see if you can include this in the reflection. And so then you can begin moving into the third step of the reflection, which is sort of examining how this belief limits or distorts your view of yourself. What might open up for you? What possibilities might open up if you held a different belief about yourself? Maybe even an opposite belief. So take a few moments here to get creative and explore sort of how this belief limits your perspective about yourself. Notice where your mind's at, if you're connected to the reflection or not. Return to the reflection if you're distracted. And remember, the point here is not to form a different belief. It's actually just to see the belief as it is, to see how limiting it is, and to see how oftentimes it's untrue. No single story or belief captures the full totality of who you are. All right, let's take another moment to rest the mind here in whatever way feels helpful, with or without support, letting go of the reflection. You might even just notice thoughts, emotions that have come up as a result of doing the practice. All right, let's just do one final reflection. We'll take this in a little bit of a different direction this time. So, bring to mind a situation in your life, something that might be up for you. Maybe it's something stressful, some transition that you're navigating. Don't choose the most difficult thing and begin to explore the beliefs and assumptions that you have about this situation. So, just take a moment or two to do that. So, remembering that the basic instruction of the three steps is to choose a belief, explore the belief and how it influences your perception, And then also just to examine and test against your own experience by finding examples of maybe when it's not true in your life. Notice how this belief impacts the way you show up, the way you feel, the way you act. Don't forget to include examples where maybe this belief just simply isn't true, testing it against your own experience. So take another moment or two to do this. Feel free to choose another situation at any point during the reflection that feels useful and explore those beliefs in that new situation. No need to fix or change any belief here, just seeing things more clearly is the main point of this practice. Do this for another moment or so. Okay, and we can let go of the reflection again, allow the mind to rest on some aspect of your experience, or just allowing the mind to take a break and open awareness. And do this for the next minute or so. And when you're ready, you can let go of the practice. Can open up your eyes, maybe just looking around your environment for a moment with a sense of appreciation about something, whether it's having, interest in the fact that you're meditating, maybe something in your environment that feels like something positive that maybe you don't normally notice. And I'd be curious to hear how your practice went for you. This is a little bit, as I mentioned, a different style of practice, this analytical meditation. So, just as a reminder, essentially, there were three things that we were working on here in terms of seeing things more clearly in the stories that we tell ourselves. So, we brought to mind a belief that we have. We begin to see how the belief influences our perceptions, our actions, the way that we feel. And then we begin to sort of test this belief against our own experience, really getting curious around, is this actually always true? And then through this inquiry, you might see that there are times in your life where it's not true. And so we can begin to see how these stories are quite limiting. These stories that we tell ourselves are simply more often than not true. They're limiting, and there's simply just sort of an oversimplification of our experience. And it's just a natural habit of the mind, but we sort of begin to open things up by being able to see these habits of mind more clearly. So, if you're interested in finding out more about these types of practices, you can, of course, download our free app, the Healthy Minds program, that it's offered freely due to the generosity of our donors. And we also have a great new class coming up. I'm super excited about this class kicking off the week of April 14th. This is a 4-week class dedicated to kickstarting a habit, a meditation habit. So, if you find yourself perhaps at a time in your own meditation practice where you might be struggling with consistency, or you're interested simply in learning about habit formation, as the world is opening up a bit, vaccinations are becoming more widely available. What you may find in your own experience is that the habits that you adapted and changed based on one set of circumstances during the stay-at-home order, you're going to be in a place where you're going to need to shift and adapt. And to have some strategies to help you do that are going to be things that you're going to learn in this class, as well as just getting grounded in the Healthy Minds framework. So, looking forward to reconnecting with you again in a future practice. And thank you for those of you um, who have shared a little bit about your experience in the chat box. David, as always, I appreciate your sharing. And we will see you in the weeks to come. Thank you so much, and wishing you well this week.